Hey guys, Bored Now back with you. Just a quick video, and that is I will be reacting to the new trailer for Morbius, which went online today. So this is the new or forthcoming Jared Leto starring superhero movie, which is another adaptation of a comic book. So I'm sure some people watching this or listening to this will have better knowledge of it than me, but it's obviously the latest attempt to adapt a comic book. And in this case, I couldn't really gauge too much by the trailer, except that he's the lead as this character known as Dr. Morbius, and the whole thing is that he's a vampiric character who also has remarkable powers to try and heal people. I sort of gauged that maybe, but then there's certain consequences about that. So we're talking about well-drawn sort of territory in this case. And the trailer didn't do much for me. It was really typical, really generic. It felt like one of these modern big blockbuster superhero type movies. The trailer itself was a bit messy. I thought there was too much cutting around to really make a lot of sense of it, and I didn't really get a good sense of the tone of the film or what the tone might be, whether there's going to be some black comedy, more humour, because there was only like one random moment where there was sort of like a humour, like a line which was quite humorous, which was a wink and a nod, but generally it was hard to get a grab on what sort of movie this would be. Now it felt like Jared Leto doing his typical Jared Leto recent persona, where he's playing like the oddball sort of vampiric type, almost like an anti-hero. But I think the problem with Jared Leto and in this sort of movie is that he feels more like the sort of character who you cast as the villain or in like a supporting role. He doesn't feel like, in this role anyway, this sort of character, it doesn't feel like he can carry it off as the lead of the film. And I think the reason is that he doesn't have enough of a charm to him. I think obviously because of certain things with Leto and his personality and just the way his characters tend to generally go, I just don't think, although he has a certain charisma, I think he is very dry, and I certainly don't think he's a very likeable persona. So if there's meant to be a bit more of a comedic feel to the character and making him a bit more likeable, I think overall he just doesn't quite have the skills to really carry off this sort of film. I didn't really get a sense of much to do with like supporting characters. I know there was a female, what appeared to be a love interest. They didn't really seem, based on the trailer anyway, to have a great deal of chemistry. There was some half decent effects. The effects didn't look too bad actually, like when you saw him morphing into this other side of his persona, and you kind of take that stuff for granted anyway. But the trailer wasn't that great for me. It was pretty typical. I think I've said this before on a video with Rachel, but the standard of modern trailers tend to be pretty bad. But there was a lot of cutting around. It was very hard to really get a handle on it, and there was very little for me to sell me on this film. I don't really like Leto as a lead character, especially if it's a character we're meant to sympathise with. Generally, he doesn't draw much sympathy from me as an actor, so it seemed pretty standard, and it seemed like it might be a bit empty. Obviously, people who know more about this character and have read the comic books might know a bit more, and they might have a preference. I mean, who would you like to have seen casting the role? Are you happy with Leto as the lead? Please let me know in your comments below. And just to let you know, this film will be released in January. It's got a January release date, so possibly one I might take a look at and cover on the channel if there's interest. But let me know your thoughts on this first trailer for Morbius in the comments below. And this is something I'll do from time to time, just checking out new trailers and giving a quick response. Like and subscribe, share me out on social media, and I'll be back with more soon. Thanks guys.